Give no shit, bitch. I'm a scumbag journalist. I go dumb, dumb, dumb. I don't give no shit, bitch. I'm a scumbag journalist. I go dumb, dumb, dumb. Welcome back to Scumbag Journalism 101. I am your host, En Pandit Cole, aka Dr. Shock, the most shocking scumbag journalist on the planet. And today's episode is called Journalism Isn't Dead. We Became Scumbags. So strap on your seatbelts and get ready for a wild ride through the new world of scumbag journalism. So, what is scumbag journalism? If this is your first time here, then I'd like to give you a very quick recap. Scumbag journalism is journalism in the age of lies, aka the age of truth. Everything is reversed in the cosmic mirror of our dimensional reality. So if the mainstream is lying to you, that means we're in the age of truth. They're lying to try to repress the truth. They're trying to stop journalists from reporting on ongoing history. The role of the journalist is to chronicle history. As a history chronicler, a journalist dictates the direction of history because he who writes history controls the narrative, and he who controls the narrative has the power to dictate the future. That is why the journalist is being targeted, persecuted, killed, tortured all over the world. All over the fucking world. Last year, hundreds of journalists were targeted, tortured, and killed for simply reporting on what's going on all over the world and in this country. Journalists have been targeted. Shout out Don Lemons. Shout out Don Lemon, bruh. They put that nigga behind bars for reporting on something that was happening. And he used to work for CNN. So if he used to work for CNN and they still locked him up, and now they done bought CNN, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? What does that say about freedom of speech in America? Have you ever heard the name Thomas Paine? Because I didn't hear his name until a few weeks ago. Yeah, it rang a bell. Maybe I glimpsed his name one time in a history book, but I don't really remember. And I don't feel like they made a big deal about him. Thomas Paine was a pamphleteer. That's the old school journalist back in the pre Revolutionary War era. Pamphleteers were also called muckrakers. They would dig up dirt on politicians and put it out in pamphlets that they would write, publish, print, and release to the public as a way of illuminating the truth. This is before internet, before smartphones, before even telephones or fucking electricity. Niggas was doing this with the little feather ink pen, ink blot. They was doing this shit. Thomas Paine wrote a pamphlet called Common Sense. America fucking went to war against Britain for the Revolutionary War. George Washington did the Revolutionary War largely based on the rhetoric, doctrine, and principles that were included within common sense. Thomas Paine said, we're being oppressed by Britain and we need to rebel and we need to retaliate and we need to create America. America was founded on journalism. Hunter S. Thompson spent his entire life looking for the American dream. Gonzo journalism is the American dream. Let me say that again. Guns up for Hunter S., nigga. Gonzo journalism is the American dream. When Hunter S. Thompson went to war with culture, when he went to war with the fucking establishment, when he went to war with the machine, when he went to war with the politicians, and he revealed the true face of America under that sinister werewolf mask, and he called out Nixon, and he called out these bad actors in politics, in government, Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail 72. He revealed the true identity of America and the gonzo journalism, the pursuit of truth, justice, and the American way. That is the American dream. That is scumbag journalism. Scumbag journalism, they have barred us from being journalists. In the golden era of journalism, you didn't go to fucking Harvard or Yale or one of these UCs and get a journalism degree and go write for a corporate owned fucking publication that feeds lies and propaganda to the public. You could be a boots on the ground motherfucker from the struggle who got your foot in the door by writing some shit and became a fucking journalist. That's who we need. We need individuals who are passionate about the truth, not individuals who are able to afford a journalism degree. When only those who can afford a degree are permitted access to professions in the public sphere, you do not live in a free society. You live in a controlled, regulated state. That's totalitarian. That's totalitarian. You ain't finna hear this from Tucker Carlson, bro. Tucker fucking Carlson, Tucker Carlson ain't gonna tell you this shit. This, that real shit. This is why you need to subscribe to Total Shock Fiction. Tucker fucking Carlson isn't gonna tell you this real shit. You don't live in a free society when only those affluent enough to go to a university to get a degree are permitted access to industries. Whether or not you can afford a degree being the medium point for entry into a profession means you don't live in a free society. Liberalism tells us under capitalism that anybody who works hard enough can get to the top. That's a lie within their system. You can get to the top because you dictate your reality, but you cannot get to the top within their system because if you can't afford to go to Harvard and you don't jump through the hoops and play their game and take their tests and write their essays and do that school bullshit where they don't teach you, mind you, in the education system, they require you to major in specific fields. They limit what you're able to study based on you have to study one thing. You got to pick something. And up through high school, it's mostly programming. They're training you to be a worker. Do homework for grades, do high school for points, graduate to go to college to get a degree to get a job, and niggas with degrees can't even get jobs. So what was the point? Sound off. What was the point? What was the point in the first place? You have the internet. There's nothing a college can teach you that you can't learn. I dropped out of high school at 16, created my own curriculum, studied an independent study as a hikikomori until I was 20, went to college and did not learn one thing in the classroom. I learned at college, excuse me, I got some mucus buildup. I learned at college as a star reporter, awarded MVP of the campus newspaper. That's the CRC, Cosumnes River College Connection, established in 1972. I was a star reporter my first semester on the paper after 5 years of not being in school, coming back to college with high school proficiency, which you don't even need high school proficiency to go to community college. You could drop out and go to community college. No one told you that, but I still went and got my high school proficiency, didn't study for it, still passed. Of course, I was exceptional in the English because I had already become an independent author at the age of 16 and had been writing for 5 years. They told me I needed to take English before I went to journalism, or before I went to media studies, or before I went to screenwriting. I said, I don't need to take English. I know English. Let me take the classes I want because I'm not going to be here long. Okay, I'm not going to be here long. So let me get in the media class. Let me get into journalism. Let me take screenwriting. Screenwriting didn't teach you shit. Screenwriting, they teach you to copy the script of every successful movie and do the exact same cookie cutter model. And that's how you're going to be a successful screenmaker. That's what they teach you. I had to unlearn everything I learned in screenwriting. They didn't teach me shit. Everything I learned was at the newspaper, and then I became a student ambassador in their leadership program as an employee for the college organizing events, and I learned how college structures work. And I learned about the trustee boards who get into hot water when they make certain remarks. I learned about what president sits next to who and who goes where, what faculty meeting, and what the cultural and equity is. I was on the cultural equity committee. I'm sitting down with professors. We're talking about how to make campus more culturally equitable. Okay? That's the kind of shit I was doing, and that's where I was learning. That's where I was learning how the game worked, what the structure was, right? How the shit worked. But it's a system. It's a regulated system, and you got to pay to play, baby, which means you're not in a free society. Liberalism tells you under capitalism, if you work hard, you can get through their system. But if you're born into the most impoverished community where you cannot receive a proper education, where you're not going to be able to get an adequate education to propel you towards a university career. If you are in a household where you do not have the education or the accessibility to understand how to manipulate the system and how to manipulate the game to do these scholarship applications and shit like that, there's kids born into the ghettos and the hoods who they're not going to have the application based on their environment that they're born into, not the one that they chose, the one they're born into. Do you know how many children don't eat in America? So a child who grows up not eating in America that ends up in the streets, you're telling me they were supposed to know how to get straight A's at a school that didn't even have funding, and then know how to do applications so they could get a scholarship to go to a university when their parents might not even have a bank account? You're telling me that's a fair, equal setup? You're telling me that child who was born into that environment, who did not choose it, you're telling me they're on the same playing field as a yuppie who goes to Yale, whose parents are alumni in secret societies? You're telling me that's an equal playing field. That's what liberalism says. It's bullshit. It's a fucking lie. You're fascist. You liberals are fascists. I appreciate a fascist more than a liberal. At least a fascist will tell me he's a fascist and be unapologetic about it. I can respect that. I can't respect you pretending that you give a fuck when you don't, which is what a liberal does, which is what liberalism does. And I'm not saying all people that are liberals are bad, because a lot of you were taught liberalism. You're a liberalist because you were taught it was the right thing. You don't realize it's not. You don't realize you're a program fascist. You think you're doing the right thing. That's the thing. I don't judge everybody across the board. A lot of people in these systems are merely cogs in the system who were given bad programming. A lot of these people, they want to do the right thing. They wish the world was a better place. They would do the right thing if they had the right education. They were taught wrong. And I'm not talking about the evil power players in the top. Like, those are the elites. We're not talking about them. I'm talking about just the basic workers who went to college, were taught liberalism. They think liberalism is going to save the kids in Africa. No, it's not. Liberalism is the reason why the kids in Africa are dying in the genocide in Sudan right now. And as much as people talk about what's going on in Palestine, which is equally fucked up, people are talking about Palestine more than they're talking about the genocide in Sudan. The genocide in Sudan just got news coverage finally within the last 4 months. Why is that? Why is the Palestine conflict more important than the genocide in Sudan? Isn't genocide genocide? Isn't famine famine? Why is it more important over there than it is over here? And that's the scope of modern media journalism. Journalism has been replaced with controlled mass media communications. The technocrats that control the corporate conglomerates, they have bought all existing mass media now. They just did a major deal. They bought up Warner Bros. They bought up CBS, NBC, CNN, shut down PBS, got rid of Cartoon Network, shut down BET. They have taken over mass media communications as they're implementing AI, because they're replacing mass media communications with AI. You can already see in the Hollywood system model that they're not able to produce good quality movies anymore, because nothing matters about entertainment, originality, and there's gatekeeping to where only drone machine learning based thinkers are allowed to write the propaganda scripts that get made into movies. So they're not even letting none of the real shit even through. So what you have to be in this day and age is a scumbag journalist. In their eyes, I'm a scumbag. I am a scumbag in their eyes. They view me as unprofessional. They view me as uneducated. They view me as not worthy of being able to facilitate the telling of truth to the world based on my research and self-education over many, many years of study in a number of fields. They say you can't be a polymath. That's a lie. There were polymaths before there was electricity in America. If they had polymaths before there was electricity, you're telling me we can't be polymaths when we have the internet, iPhones, and laptops? You're full of shit. I can study as much as I want to know. If I am adequate in my delivery of the truth and able to articulate the truth, write the truth, publish the truth, and propel the truth into the world, then I am adequate for this position to be a journalist. And if they're going to gatekeep and prevent me from being in the professional sphere, guess what? I don't want to be in the professional sphere because they're helping serve the agenda. I'm on the outside. This is renegade reporting. This is Stieg Larsson reporting. This is taking journalism, taking investigative reporting and transforming it into fictional narratives in fiction and releasing books so that we can put the truth out in a fiction mode so that they can't say that it's something that's illegal, because fiction isn't illegal yet. They're killing journalists for reporting the truth. But if you report the truth, but you put it in a fictional story and release it as a book and say, well, this is fiction, you're safe for now. That's what we've come to. We have to mythologize the truth to get the truth out because they're killing niggas for saying the truth. So that's what a scumbag journalist is. Scumbag journalism is underhanded tactics to achieve the goal of reporting the truth. This is bootstrap reporting, using the least external resources with the most maximum internal effort to get the greatest output. This is bootstrap reporting. That is scumbag journalism 101 for that ass. And that's what we got to do. We have podcasts, we have social media, we have access to the entire world. They just have billions of dollars in marketing ads and control of the algorithm to dictate what people pay attention to. But if you continue to hammer the algorithm every single day with real shit, eventually people are going to start paying attention to the real shit you're saying. That's what you got to do. You got to glamorize what you are representing so that people can resonate with it in order to gain traction and to get an audience so that you can influence other people to do the right thing. Today's lesson is do the right thing. Shout out Spike Lee. Today is do the right thing. Seek some truth. If you're going to doom scroll for 8 hours, I want you to spend 5 minutes trying to find if even one TikTok you've seen today was true. Find some truth. Spend 5 minutes Googling some shit you don't know about to see what it's really about. Take a scroll down Wikipedia real quick to see some truth. Look up some truth. Go buy a book. I challenge you to spend 5 minutes of looking for truth, even if you don't find the truth. Spend 5 minutes to find your own truth that wasn't put onto your algorithmic feed by the algo. That's my challenge, ladies and gentlemen. Spend 5 minutes pursuing truth. This is Scumbag Journalism 101. Journalism is not dead. There's plenty of journalists all over Substack, all over blogs, all over the internet. We have still war correspondents and we have field reporters out there dying on the front lines every single day, getting tortured and killed for the truth to chronicle history. Journalism is far from dead. The mainstream version of it, where they corporatized it and they rewarded journalists for writing propaganda, that's dead and that needed to die. And those journalists don't need to get paid because they were never journalists to begin with. They were henchmen, they were cronies, and they were goons. And this is scumbag journalism. So if they want to say that we're scumbags for telling the truth, then guess what? Scumbags we are. In scumbag journalism we trust. In Hunter S. Thompson we trust. In Gonzo we trust. This is Scumbag Journalism 101 from Total Shock Fiction. I am your host, En Pandit Cole, aka Dr. Shock, the most shocking scumbag journalist on the internet. You're not going to hear this from Tucker Carlson. This is what you need. As always, stay shocked.